Welcome to another episode of What's Sold on eBay. I am Jeremy from Janda's World. Adam could not be with us today. The first item I want to talk about is this Brioni windbreaker jacket. Now, this jacket I sold for $181. And the funny thing is that I had no idea about this brand Brioni until I was just looking through some other sellers' sold items, and I saw that this brand sold for like $50 and it was just like a polo. So that caught my eye. I learned about the brand that way. And then just maybe a week later, I found this jacket. I had to pay a little bit more than I normally pay for items for it. This was about $20, but I figured for a jacket like this, I'd be able to easily make my money back, and I did. It sold really quickly, $181. Definitely a brand to look out for. Next is this Banana Republic jacket. Now this jacket went for $41, and I think a lot of people probably see tons of Banana Republic stuff when they're at thrift stores, and it's probably a good idea to pass on a lot of them, but if you see something that looks relatively new or it's trendy looking, you can probably get some decent money for it. So keep an eye out for in style and hopefully the more expensive items from Banana. Next is this Hard Rock Cafe t-shirt. Now, this is an item that I've had for a long time. I only got $16 for it, but I just remember when I first learned about thrifting and selling on eBay, Hard Rock Cafe was one of those things that Jason T. Smith mentioned. I don't think I pick them up anymore. It's really not worth it. They take a long time to sell. You don't get too much for it. The market's flooded, so in my opinion, don't really buy these Hard Rock shirts anymore. Next is this Massimo Dutti shirt. This one sold for only $12. When I got this from someone who went thrifting for me, I wasn't really sure what it was. I had to look it up. I noticed that solds don't really go for that much, so I priced it a little bit lower. It sat for not too long, but I was just happy to get an offer for it. Took whatever it was, got rid of it. Next is this Moschino skirt. Now this skirt sold for $46, and what was interesting about it is I actually sold another similar Moschino skirt that had this similar puzzle pattern. So if you do see Moschino with this puzzle pattern, definitely buy it because you're going to sell it and it's good money. Okay, next is this Max Studio dress. Now this dress sold for $23. I actually got this for free. It belonged to my wife. She just gave it to me. Really didn't think someone was going to buy it, but somebody bought it. No best offer either. $23 for something that was free all the time. Next are these Victoria's Secret flip-flops. These ones sold, I think the very next day I listed them for $31. I think these are given to people for free when you buy something at Victoria's Secret and you spend a certain amount of money. So it's interesting how people would spend $31 on a free gift. Next up, I have this Nike t-shirt. Now, I know I mentioned before in my last video that I don't really buy these Nike shirts anymore because you can buy them brand new in the Nike outlet pretty much for $15, but this one sold for about $20, and I had it for a long time too. So these ones, they take a long time to sell, and you're lucky if you get $20. Usually you get 10 to 15. Next is this pair of Old Navy shorts. This also belonged to my wife, so didn't cost me anything. And I sold them for $20, which to me is really surprising. Like, how much could these shorts have possibly cost new when she bought them from Old Navy? I have no idea. Next are these Chanel flats. These ones surprisingly took a long time for me to sell. I did get $105 for them, which is good, but I remember when I was looking up comps on these, they were around like the $200 mark. So I thought I was going to get a lot more for it. Took a little while. There's a lot of interest, but eventually I was able to sell them, but I only got 105. Next are these Maria Sharapova flats. These ones I sold for $33, and the reason I want to mention this is I ran a little experiment between listing an item directly on eBay and listing an item through a third-party app such as InkFrog. So I list all of my listings on InkFrog, and I heard from someone that they believe, excuse me, selling or a listing directly on eBay will cause your listings to have a higher ranking in the search results. So what I did was I listed these both on eBay and on InkFrog, and I noticed that the InkFrog listing was higher. So I know it was only one in my sample size, but these ones sold through the InkFrog listing. So I continue to list on InkFrog. Next are these Nike running shoes. These went for about $30, and they're a little bit beat up. I disclosed that there's some signs of prior use. But the interesting thing about these is I got them in like a bag of garbage. I bought like 7,000 pounds of garbage bags full of clothing from people. And I went through them all. Well, I shouldn't say I went through them all. I went through as many as I could, which was maybe like 10 bags, and it became too overwhelming. But this was garbage. Ended up selling it for $30. Next is this Detroit Red Wings hat. This one went for $24, which I usually don't pick up a lot of hats. I don't seem to sell hats for too much, but I thought this hat was kind of cool looking, and I was right because someone wanted it within a few days of me listing it for $24. Probably paid about $1 for this hat. Next are these Adidas soccer cleats. These ones went for $42, and they were also an item that I found in one of those garbage bags full of clothing. So it's amazing what people can throw out, how that was garbage destined for the landfill or for a thrift store, but it got to me and I sold them for $42. The last item I want to talk about is this Coach wallet. Now this one sold for $31, but this Coach wallet sat in my so-called death pile for so long. I just never really got around to listing it. And finally I listed it, and within like 3 days it sold for $31. So that always reminds me, like, you gotta get stuff listed. When it's sitting around, it's just collecting dust and it's not gonna help. So anyways, these solds were from August 7th to the 14th of 2018, which August was so slow for me, but sold some stuff. Hope this helped you, and we'll see you on the next video.